Okay. Hello. Listen, so have you ever noticed how in some areas there's parking everywhere, right? And in other areas it feels impossible. Like one block is empty or one neighborhood is empty, and then the next block or the next neighborhood you're circling for 10 to 15, sometimes 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 50 minutes. We know, we talked about this, right? Plenty of times. And then finally you get a spot and you're frustrated, you're late, and that can ruin your whole experience. But please don't let it ruin your whole experience, but it can. But be mindful of that. But here's the thing. That situation is not random. It's actually a designed behavior, just not always designed well. So, hello, I'm Andrea, founder of Plentyi, and this is Ask Anything Parking, where we break down the stuff that nobody explains, but everybody deals with and everybody makes assumptions about, including me. And today's question is, what do cities actually want from parking systems? Because I'll be honest with you, most people think cities are just making parking difficult for no reason. And I have to say that I actually thought the same thing. I'm like, they're trying to push all these vehicles out and making it difficult for us because just in pricing, they charging all this money, the tolls, the tickets, blah 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 blah. You're just making it hard for us. You're making it, they can't park anywhere, right? I mean, that was me, right? But when you understand what's really going on behind the scene, then you realize it actually changes how you see the entire parking experience. So let's start here. When we say parking system, we're not just talking about a parking garage, okay? A parking system includes street parking, garages and lots, parking meters, payment apps, signs and regulations, enforcement, and even parking strategies. It's an entire ecosystem on its pretty much on its own, on its own. Yes, I think so. Yes, and ideally, all of these pieces are supposed to work together to manage how cars move through a city. But in reality, a lot of times they don't. So, now this is where it gets a little interesting, right? Most people think the problem is there's not enough parking, but that's not always true. I think it's true in some areas, but in some areas, it's not true. Because studies have shown that in busy areas, a significant portion of traffic is actually people just searching for parking. And we spoke about this, right, in our previous, you know, conversations about parking, right? And then what does that search look like? It can take 10 to 15, even 20 minutes. I'd say 30 or 40 or 50 minutes, right? um, think about that. That's not people commuting, that's not people traveling, that's people just trying to stop driving, right? Because it gets so frustrating. Yes, I know, and I'm the one that don't get frustrated, but it is frustrating sometimes. So, from a city's perspective, this isn't just inconvenient, it creates congestion, it creates frustration, and even impacts safety. So, when the city is looking at parking, they're just not thinking, how do we give people more spaces? They're not, right? They're thinking, how do we make this system work better? Because parking is not just about cars. It affects traffic flow, business activities, public safety, and even air quality. So, what cities actually want? Let's break this down. Let's try to break it down. The first thing is less circling and less traffic. Well, less circling equals less traffic. So cities want fewer people circling the block because that circling, it creates unnecessary traffic. More traffic means more delays, more accidents, more frustration. So the goal is simple: help drivers find parking faster. And the second thing they want to do is the turnover movement, right? Just the amount of time that people actually spend in one parking space. So cities don't want cars sitting in the same spot all day in high demand areas. Why? Because that limits access. If one car is taking up a space for 8 to 10 hours, I mean, I know my cars probably take up space for about 24 hours, one space. Um, that's multiple potential customers who never get that spot. So you notice in cities they use things like time limits. So we all know, like in New York City, we go to the parking meters, like, oh, it's a 2 hour time limit, it's a 4 hour. We like, why are they putting a limit on us? What's the reason for that? You only can park our car here for 2 hours, right? But the reason for that is because they want to be able want other people, other cars to be able to drop to actually park in that space, right? So, like we said, meter pricing. The meter pricing might be expensive in certain areas. So, certain areas it might be cheaper. It might be 50 cents for an hour, $1 for an hour. And then you go into the city, it's like $6 an hour. I'm just throwing that out there, but I know in some parts of the city, the meter pricing is actually higher, right? And also, there's zoning rules, right? No standing in this area, loading zone, right? They have reasons why they have these in place because they want the turnover rate to be higher than what it is. So they want to keep spaces moving. And the third thing is support for local businesses, right? This one is big and it's often overlooked. If parking is too hard, people don't come. I know people who experience that. They'll have an event in a very crazy, hectic area. The parking is very crazy. The traffic is crazy. The pricing for parking is crazy. And they're like, nah, I don't want to deal with that. I'd rather not go, right? It happens, believe it or not. So, or sometimes they'll come once and then they don't come back, right? And that directly impacts small businesses. And New York City, to me, we've always been known for supporting small businesses, right? And sometimes that can be a challenge for us who drive because we can't, we don't want to deal with that part of it, right? So, so cities actually care a lot about making sure people can arrive easily, park without stress, and access businesses quickly because that drives local economies and that makes a difference, right? We want our local economy to be thriving because that makes the city thrive. Okay, so number 4 is data and visibility. Cities, they want to understand where people are parking, when demand is highest, when demand of parking is the highest, which areas are underserved. Because without data, they're guessing. And when cities guess, systems don't improve. And to believe it or not, cities have guessed for years on parking. Like you might notice that in certain areas, they have like this huge parking garage, but there's nobody parking in that area. Like there's no, it's an empty parking garage. Or you have a shopping mall with like 1,000 spaces and they only fill up like 20, right? So it's because they've made these guesses on dependent and then also rules. Like if you have a big store, you should be able to accommodate all these spaces. And in actuality, they might not need all those spaces. And then like communities changes, right? They could change. Like one area, they'll have like before they didn't have big building high rises like downtown Brooklyn. I mean, like they got rid of all the local stores. So now they have a lot of buildings down there, right? So now the traffic, there's more traffic, there's more vehicles, right? So that it changes. So it's good to know about the demand in certain areas so then it can help you improve the system. It's just the truth, believe it or not. So I like to go into the pros and cons because I always like to make sure you walk away with something. That's what we're about. We're always about educating our family over here. Okay. So what are the pros and cons of a parking system, like a sufficient parking, a parking system that's working very well, right? You find parking better and faster. right? Traffic moves better. Businesses are getting more customers, and the cities feel easier to navigate, right? Like that'd be like utopia in New York City. Like, oh my God, it's amazing, right? But here's the reality: pricing can feel expensive, right? Not everyone uses apps, right? Signals, signs can be confusing because New York City signs are confusing, and I think DC signs are confusing as well. I think DC got us packed because when I went to DC, I couldn't figure out where to park, where to stand, where to go. I didn't know what was going on. But anyway, information sometimes is not always clear, and systems are often disconnected. And that last one, that systems are often disconnected, that is the biggest issue. It really is. So like most cities don't actually have a parking shortage, they have a coordination problem. So think about it, there might be empty spaces in a garage, available parking 2 blocks away, or or options people don't even like, you don't even know about, that you don't even know they exist. But because nothing is connected, right? And it feels like there's no parking. So that's something we think about. So what does that look like in real life? Garages don't talk to each other. Events, because they probably in competition with each other, but they probably don't talk to each other. Events don't coordinate in with park. They don't coordinate with parking. Drivers don't know their options ahead of time. So what happens? You figure it out when you get there. I mean, I've done that. I'm like, well, I'll just figure out when I get there. I'll figure out parking when I get there. And then when I get there, I can't find parking. And I'm driving around for 30, 40 minutes, can't find parking. And then I try to go to a garage. And in the garage, I don't like the price of the garage. So I go to the next one. And after I do all of that, I'm frustrated. I just accept what I accept, and I just be on about my business, right? That's my real life experience. So the next time you circle the block or feel like parking is impossible, just remember the issue isn't always lack of space, which I think sometimes it is, but it's not all the time. It's a lack of coordination, communication, and visibility. And that's exactly why what we're working on here with Plentyi is that we're connecting parking to real life, events, businesses, everyday moments. So instead of guessing, you already know where you're going to go before you even arrive. I mean, wouldn't that be sweet? So, because parking shouldn't feel random, especially in a city that runs on movement. That's like NYC, baby. So anyway, thank you for joining us today. This is Ask Anything Parking at 9:30 every Wednesday. And if you enjoyed it, please smash that like button, that little thumbs up, smash it with your finger. Just do it like that. It literally like 2 seconds, right? And if you like what we're talking about, follow us, or share it with someone who loves to talk about parking. This might be something that they actually might be interested in. And also, if you have anything that you would like us to talk about when it comes to parking, listen, drop it in the comment because that's what we're here for. So, again, thank you for joining us and have a blessed evening.